Hey guys, it's Elena. Today I wanted to show you how I made this flower curtain in Procreate using my new pressed flowers brushes. And this is sort of a trend that I've seen online. My sister has a real flower curtain hanging from a branch in her house. So I wanted to give this a try with my new brushes and also show you how to use the Build a Flower brush set to create a lot of different kinds of flowers. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're starting out with a new canvas that is 10 by 8 inches at 300 dpi. So now we're going to the gear icon to the canvas tab and turning on the drawing guide. And we're going to do this in order to have something to show us where to put the lines. So I tapped edit drawing guide and I'm changing the thickness and the grid size to be a bit bigger. This will not be showing in our final project, but this will just show a guide to where to put the lines of flowers so that they are more uniform. So I'm going to my color palette and I'm picking a pink from the warm palette, then going to my secondary color and choosing a blue. So I've got a pink and a blue as my primary and secondary colors. And I'm using the Build a Flower folder from my Pressed Flowers brush set. So first we're going to Forget-Me-Not number 2, and along the grid I'm going to add a small semicircle, and I'm using this a couple of times just to have the same flower in two different places. And next I'm going to my Sweet Pea brush and making a little circle with that. So with these Build a Flower brushes you can do a semicircle or a complete circle if you want a side flower or a straight on flower. It's up to you. So we're going to petals number 2 and adding that as a half circle side flower. So going back to the colors, I'm just changing up the colors a little bit so that we have a red and then as the secondary color an orange. And now I'm choosing poppy number 3. And with that flower, I'm making an almost complete circle, but not all the way. So there's just a little bit of space. So I'm choosing kind of randomly. I'm just kind of choosing all of my favorite brushes. So I've gone to Lily number 3 now and making a half circle with that. And I'm going to add that 2 different places. So what I'm trying to do is make sure that the colors are kind of evenly distributed and that there's not all of one flower right next to itself. So I've gone to rose number 1 now and choosing a pink and a red as my primary and secondary colors, adding a half circle there. And going on to rose number 7. Making a full circle with that one. Rose number 8. Again with a mostly full circle, just leaving a little bit of space for the greenery underneath of it. Sweet Pea number 2, changing to pink and yellow. So I'm not really paying attention to the lines that are going across. It's more the up and down lines that I'm paying attention to because it won't be a grid when I'm done. It will be more like just lines of flowers coming down. And I'm actually going to turn the whole thing upside down when I get done. But it's easier to do it with all the flowers facing upward. So I've chosen a daisy brush now. So now selecting lilac number 1, and I wanted to incorporate some purple, so I chose a purple and a pink for that, and adding that in a couple of places as well. So going to petals number 4, changing my colors ever so slightly, and making a full circle with that one. And we're going to choose bluebell number 1 And I wanted that to be all blue, so I chose blue as both the primary and the secondary. Just making some small circles with this. Moving on to carnation number 1. I really like how this one looks in a deep pinkish red. So I've got the pinkish red as the primary and the blue as the secondary colors. Adding that as a semicircle in a couple of places. So at this point, I decided to go ahead and use stamps. So I moved on to the stamps area of that same Build a Flower folder and chose a couple of stamps to add as well. So that was Abrieta, and now we've got Bluebell number 2. And with the stamps, there's no circle drawing or semicircle, it's just tapping and pointing the pencil in the direction that you want the top of the flower to go. So there's my cherry blossom, switching to pink for that. And just adding another kind of cherry blossom as well. Now at this point where I'm adding the stamps, I'm just kind of looking for the gaps in the designs. So I've got my cornflower in blue and just kind of looking to the grid to see where are we missing some flowers, where's the holes. Now adding a purple daisy. I'm also looking for holes in the colors. So I noticed at this point I didn't really have a lot of this bright pink. There was quite a lot of purple. So I'm adding some things in bright pink as well. And just trying to choose some colors that I don't see that I wanted to include in the palette. So moving on to the forget-me-nots. These are a really beautiful blue in nature, so I wanted to choose a blue color. They're also very small in nature, so I wanted to add them in a fairly small size. So moving on to the pansies, I chose pansy number 5 in a dark blue color, fairly small. And pansy number 9 as well. I'm trying to make the sizes fairly uniform, with some being larger, some being smaller, for variety. And I didn't have a lot of red, so I chose a red color for the next pansy. I did like that quite a bit, so I added that in another place as well. So now we are moving on to the stems and leaves section of the folder and choosing sepal number 1. So this is the green base at the bottom of the flowers, in particular the side flowers. And I'm just kind of adding these to wherever it feels like it needs some kind of connecting bit between a stem and a flower. I'm using it rather sparingly, like you don't need to draw a big long stem with these. It's usually a kind of a short stroke leading up to the flower. And it's okay if the stems aren't completely on these grid lines yet, because we can kind of bring them back around and that will make it a bit more realistic if they're all kind of pointing in different directions. So I'm not trying to be too perfect about where the stems are coming out. So just for variety, I'm choosing sepal number 3. These all just have a slightly different texture from each other. So I just wanted it to look a little bit different. And choosing sepal number 2, I'm just continuing to add these connecting bits at the bottom of each flower. So at this point, it's time to build the stems. So in that same green color, I'm choosing the stem brush number 1. And so this is where it will start to kind of connect as if we have made sort of a chain out of these flowers. So I'm turning off the drawing guide under the wrench icon and canvas so that I can see more what I'm doing, because I've got the flowers in a line now and I don't want this to be like 100% perfect. So what I'm doing is I'm just adding a stem under each of these sepal connecting bits that I've done, and kind of carefully going down to the next flower and then stopping, but not making it perfect, because these are meant to be organic flowers, so they're not going to be perfect. They're just going to be going every which way. If we were actually connecting these in real life, they wouldn't be a perfect straight line. So now I've gone to the eraser tool and I'm just sort of correcting a few bits of what I did before, and I'm using the airbrushing brushes under the eraser. So I wasn't really happy with how I started this out, and so I'm going to redo that. So I've still got the stem brush. And just continuing on, I'm going to add a stem that roughly connects to the next flower on each of these. So these stems are connecting to the bottom of the page, which I'm going to turn it upside down and that will become the top. And then they're ending with the last flower. So I wanted it to be kind of like they're hanging down, and you'll see in a minute when I turn it upside down that it's going to be like they're hanging down from the ceiling. But it was easier for me to do it all kind of upside down at first and then turn it around. So the stems are done. So at this point, I went to add some leaves. So I'm choosing from the same area of the brush set, leaf number 3. And in retrospect, I feel like I added too many leaves. You'll see in the end how many leaves are on here, but I might have added too many leaves. So keep that in mind as you add yours, that you don't have to add as many as what I'm doing. Because I do kind of like the minimalism of the flowers just kind of hanging there on their stems, but the leaves definitely do add something as well. So I'm just kind of adding, with these quick flicking motions, of adding leaves to the stems as I go along. So I've finished the leaves and I wanted to choose a different green color, so I chose a lighter green, and I'm going to leaf number 1. So that's just a different leaf brush and adding more leaves. And like I said earlier, I feel like I kind of added too many leaves in the end, so you can skip this step if you prefer. It's completely up to you how many leaves you want to add, what color of leaves you want to add, and so forth. So at this point, I decided that I was done, and I just took that and turned the whole thing upside down so that it looks like they're all coming down from the top. And you can see that they're all separate from the background layer. If you want to put them on a different color background, you can do that as well. So that concludes our little flower curtain tutorial. And I think some of my takeaways are that I might not use as many leaves next time, like I said. And it might be fun to experiment with some different kinds of more limited color palettes or limited choices of flowers, though for this I just wanted to choose quite a wide range of flowers just to show you what was possible. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.